To recognize, as we have mentioned earlier, one by one, our boxing greats and heroes, past, present, and future world champions sitting to my right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a video looping and showing some of the action of some of these fighters, and we will read their names in alphabetical order. We apologize ahead of time in that we have something like 90 champions joining us. We don't have the time to deliver the accolades that they deserve. If you can't hold your applause, we appreciate that. It may be a little bit tough sometimes. We're going to read our honored guest's name, and we are once again so pleased and honored that you have chosen to join us here this morning. We're going to roll the video at this time, and ladies and gentlemen, here we go in alphabetical order. Please welcome the two-time world champion, Rosendo Alvarez.
Welcome the current WBC Super Welterweight Champion, Saul Alvarez.
And the great former middleweight world champion, Vito Antuofermo.
And the current WBC Super Featherweight Champion of the world, Takehiro Aoi.
And the former Super Bantamweight Champion of the world, the real Paul Banky.
Three-time world champion, Iran Barkley.
World lightweight prospect, Sharif Bonger.
And my good pal and former heavyweight champion from South Africa, Francois Botha.
Former super featherweight world champion, Cornelius Boza Edwards.
And a great former lightweight champion, Livingston Bramble.
Two-time world champion from Panama, Celestino Caballero.
And the current youth champion, Randy Caballero.
Super lightweight world contender, Miguel Calist.
One of the great characters and great former champions, the Macho Man, Hector Camacho.
Two-time world champion, Javier Castillejo.
Former featherweight and super featherweight contender, Ruben Castillo.
Former middleweight world champion, Jorge Castro.
The current light heavyweight international champion, Isaac Chilamba.
And fresh off a big win, the two-time world champion, Miguel Angel Cotto.
Cotto.
Former welterweight champion, Pepino Cuevas.
Six-time world champion, the Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya.
Former world champion from the 50s, Hall of Famer, Tony DeMarco.
And the current European heavyweight champion, Alexander Dimitrenko.
First four-time Latino American world champion and all-time great Hall of Famer, Roberto Duran.
Three-time world champion, Jeff Fennick.
Current America's Cruiserweight champion, B.J. Flores.
The man who gave a rousing welcome, the one and only George Foreman.
Former Cruiserweight champion, Jacobe Fragonami.
And the current WBC female strawweight champion, Naoko Fujioka.
Three-time world champion, Humberto Gonzalez.
The current WBC featherweight world champion, Johnny Gonzalez.
One of the greatest middleweight champions ever, Marvin Hagler.
Two-time world champion joining us from across the pond, Ricky Hatton.
Another great Hall of Famer, great champion, the hitman, Tommy Hearns.
Former heavyweight contender, contender Joe Hipp.
And one of my favorite heavyweight champions of all time, one of the greatest in history, Larry Holmes.
Larry Holmes.
And three-time world champion, the real deal, Evander Holyfield.
He was the trainer of Larry Holmes.
Two-time world champion and really big banger, Julian Jackson.
That's Roberto Duran.
Who's that?
And the
Roberto Duran.
world champion, Roy Jones Jr.
And the current WBC female flyweight champion of the world, Marina Juarez.
Two-time world champion, Zab Super Judah.
The current youth bantamweight champion, Tomoki Kameda.
And the current WBC female atomweight champion, Momo Koseki.
Former world featherweight champion and broadcast partner of mine, Juan Laporte.
And the former light heavyweight champion of the world, Donnie Lalonde.
Two-time world champion, Oscar Larios.
Former super featherweight world champion, Jesse James Leja.
And the former international middleweight champion, David Lemieux.
And one of the greatest champions in boxing history, a five-time world champion, Sugar Ray Leonard.
Two-time world champion, Rafael Marquez.
And current WBC female super welterweight champion, the coal miner's daughter, Christy Martin.
Former great lightweight contender and present trainer, Floyd Mayweather Sr.
A three-time world champion known as the body snatcher, Mike McCallum.
Former welterweight champion of the world, the first one to fight the 12 rounds in the title distance, Milton McCrory.
An Olympic silver medalist and the former super bantamweight champion of the world, the pocket rocket, Wayne McCullough.
Former featherweight champion and broadcast partner, Manuel Medina.
And the former heavyweight world champion, Merciless Ray Mercer.
The first Mexican fighter to win world titles in 4 divisions, the great Eric Morales.
And the current WBC female super featherweight champion, Helena Merjikovic.
Former world champion of my pal, Eddie Mustafa Mohammed.
And what a champion, one of the greatest champions in the welterweight division, Jose Napoles.
The current WBC female super bantamweight champion, Jackie Neva.
Two-time world champion known as the Professor Azuma Nelson.
The current WBC super bantamweight champion of the world, Toshiaki Nishioki.
And the three-time world champion, Terrible Terry Norris.
Part of the greatest heavyweight championship fight I ever saw, who fought Larry Holmes for the world title, one of the great fights of all time, former heavyweight champion and great puncher, Kenny Norton.
And a world contender, official challenger in the welterweight division from Africa, Jose Olusegun.
two-time world champion Carlos Ortiz.
And a former welterweight champion of the world, King Carlos Palomino.
Former light heavyweight champion Jean Pascal.
And Terry Norris just reminded me that he is a four-time world champion. He certainly deserves that recognition because we don't want to take any belt away from him. Well deserved. And now the two-time world champion, the very popular Vinny Pacienza.
And the current US NBC super middleweight champion, Edwin Rodriguez.
And official top-ranked world title challenger in the middleweight division, Marco Antonio Rubio.
The featherweight Latino champion with a great name, Salvador Sanchez.
And joining us, we have the first female Mexican to win a world title, Laura Serrano.
Former heavyweight contender and maybe the hardest puncher that I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. He's Ernie Shavers.
Who's she? Who's she?
Ernie Shavers.
Three-time world champion, Humberto Soto.
Former heavyweight champion of the world and Olympic gold medalist, Leon Spinks.
Spinks.
Former international female champion, Mia St. John.
And the former welterweight champion of the world, John Stracey.
And current NABF light heavyweight champion, Ismail Silaf.
The current America's middleweight champion, George Thadu Anapa.
And the current WBC female light flyweight world champion, Naomi Togashi.
Proud to introduce heavyweight contender, Scott Welch.
And current America's heavyweight champion, Chauncey Welliver.
Current WBC cruiserweight champion, Krzysztof Wojcik.
Former two-time world champion, Ronald Winky Wright.
The current WBC bantamweight champion of the world, Shinsuke Yamanaka.
And a three-time world champion, we are to the Z's, Daniel Zaragoza.
And our 90th final and a great fighter, the former bantamweight champion and one of the hardest pound-for-pound punchers ever, Carlos Zarate.
Carlos Zárate.